Boom. What's up? Thank you guys for tuning in to episode 33 of Expert Mentors Live. And man, I'm super pumped to really run through this one with you guys today. It's going to be a little bit different than the previous episodes. We're actually going to take you through our quad track and just kind of help you understand what it is, why it's so important, and get it set up for you guys. It's perfect timing. This, all of our one-on-one clients and everybody we're working with right now, this is it. We're getting set up. We're setting our scoreboard. And the quad track's just an amazing tool that's going to be really going to be there to help you guys get it set up. So, Joel, man, share with everybody, what the quad track is, what it has meant, to you guys in your business, how you have it set up and how you're using it.
Well, I can sum that up in one or two words for you, and that's clarity or transparency. Because, when I joined Al, it was kind of basically just, I thought you threw stuff at the wall and, you didn't care about putting money into home evaluations or whether it's realtor.com or Zillow or a newspaper, Mimi's newspaper for us. It was very interesting for me to see that, this is what our goals are. This is what our projections are going to be. And this is where all of our money's coming in, and here's where we're winning and here's where we're losing. And, we knew Al and I had set up where every other week we sat in on a meeting, and we knew whether we were winning or losing every single time we got together, and we knew we can, cut something out of the budget or add something to it if it was working. So honestly, clarity and transparency for us.
Man, yeah, it really is. It makes things visible. It lets you see really what's going on. It helps you make better business decisions. And it helps you hold everybody in the team accountable. So we're gonna dive right in, man. For those of you that don't know, Joe is Al Stasig's right hand from the west side of the 216, and he's definitely been an integral part. He understands this on the operational side and sales side. And so it really is an important piece to have in your business. And if you don't have any type of scoreboard, anything that you're looking at, then man, this is an awesome resource, an awesome tool. I see a few folks on here that definitely dive in and take advantage of the quad track when it rolls out every year. And for us, man, I'm going to go ahead and share my screen, Joel, with everybody. And boom. Can you guys see that? I actually lost my whole screen. All right. Can you guys see that, Joel?
Yep. I got the cash flow tab.
Okay, yeah. So this is not the quad track. I have this up, and I'm gonna reference back to it, because when we go in and we set up the goals, we like to set our goals with some assumptions that what we've seen over the years, right? So we'll reference back into this because this is kind of what we see as the average sales price, kind of what our unit was, kind of what our volume target was, and kind of what we know to be true. And then that way we're setting, the realistic growth and what type of growth trajectory that we're looking at, that we want to be on. And these are actually Stace and Reedy's numbers up in Lawton for the year, which they had a really good year. There's only 4 of them on the team, and they're gonna do about 175 units, 25 units shy of what their goal was. But this gives us some real assumptions, some real numbers, so we can see when we go set up our quad track. So let me move this, but I just want when I start pulling numbers, I just wanted to reference that, Joel, so everybody could see what that we're not, we don't want to just be making up numbers to make up numbers. So cool. All right, guys. So this is the quad track, and this tab right here is the one that I love to look at, and it lets me know where we're at in relation to the goal that we set for the year. You'll notice on here it says 2017, 2018. And just blow that up for you guys a little bit. And so we're gonna talk through where you go in and set the goals up. And hey, Joel, interject anytime through here, anything that you see that's really important that you look at. But as you can see, it has the date on there, so it keeps everything up in relative to the information that you feed it. So, I mean, dude, this is just man, man, this is like an Excel workbook on steroids is really what this is. And it manifested from, it was the triple Trac, I think is what it was, originally what it was called. And we may have ripped it from Chad Goldwasser, who was the #1 KW agent on the planet at that time. And it had to be 2005, maybe 2006, the latest, when we got this and we started this. And Chad's triple Trac only had last year's sales. And I was like, man, I want to see 2 years. So let's add another year and we'll call it the quad track. And no shit. That's how this thing came to be. And it's manifested itself over the years into where it's at today. So like what I like to, this is the tab that I always go to, that I look at first, because I want to see where we're at in relation to the goal. Where are we outpacing what we did last year, which is over here in 2018, and are we outpacing what we did in 2017 as well? It'll give us a breakdown of averages. So as we input some data in here, it'll start to tell the story. So we'll look at that. We'll come back and reference that, Joel, so we can dive in a little bit more on it. Now, guys, this video, you got to watch it to be able to walk through and understand the quad track. But there's a dummy tab that says instructions. It's the very first tab at the bottom. Reference back to it, follow it, right? It's laid out. If you'll go through it step by step, it'll help you fill out what we need to do. So here's a summary of the tabs, right? You can actually click on there and it'll take you down to it. So if you're trying to figure out where we're at, what we're trying to do. So sales goals. So this is number one. So number one, we want to fill in our average sales price, commission, and transaction fee for both listings and buyers. Additionally, enter your ratio of listings to buyer sides. We're going to fill out some of our assumptions, which is, our listing taken to a listing appointment, listing sold to listing taken to listing sold ratio. And also we have in here on the buy side as well, what are some of those appointments to what it's going to be sold. And if you don't know, create some assumptions and track it. And this gives you the opportunity to track it. Then you have accurate data, and then you're not guessing so much, a little bit better of a guess, I should say. Right, Joel?
Yep.
Okay. So then we can get in there. So we're going to talk about, let's jump into the sales goals tab, right? This is the first thing you want to do. You want to set up your 2019 targets. One, you want to be able to reference off of the data that you have for this year, right? Kind of what you've done, what you know to be true. And that's why I showed you those assumption numbers from Stace and Reedy's office, so that we can have something to base off of to set our goal. So your average sales price. We've always shot back and forth on this one, Joel, when we look at how we're going to set our average sales price. And for us, we base the assumptions because their average sales price last year in 2017 was at 119,000, right?
Okay.
And their average sales price this year is at 142, almost 143. And that was part of the strategy, right? We were strategic about that. We were going after higher end properties instead of, lower end, right? So that when you look at those numbers, this helps you when you're talking about what you need to focus on to grow your business, as increasing your average sales price is one of the handful of ways to exponentially grow your business. I know in their market, their average sales price is about 130. So what we'll do when we talk in strategy is that we'll look at the average, and then we'll also look at what their average list price is in their inventory. And that's really been a good indicator for us in the Lawton market, that we look at what is our average list price in our inventory. And that's kind of where we'll usually land. And that's one of the things that we noticed with Stace and Reedy, is that their average listing price in their inventory that they were carrying within their business into the new year was a lot higher. I don't think it was as high as this, but I mean, it's a good assumption. So just for simplicity's sake, I'll use their number, right? 142,959.14. And so we'll enter that into the average sales price. And if you've done a really good job at tracking and you can separate the two, then you can do that, right? So like for example, you work with a lot of higher end buyers, but your listings are at a lot lower price, then you would want to make that adjustment here if you know that.
Yep.
So 142,959.14. Okay. And then their average commission is lower this year than what it has been. It's at 2.67. So we're going to go ahead and use that average commission. In whatever your average commission is, guys, use it. And the thing with assumptions is that we like to err on the side of we want to be a little cautious, right? We don't want to be aggressive. So I can promise you this 142 won't make, for Stacey and Reedy, won't make their average sales price assumption going into the new year. I'll fight them on it, right? And be like, no, it's not going to be that, guys. Just look at the average market. Let's at least go with what the market is. So just always err on the side of being a little cautious when you're setting up your targets going into the new year. They charge, here's one thing on the transaction fee. They don't get it 100% of the time, but they do get it about 80 to 90% of the time. They charge $5.95 on the listing side. Let's say they get it 80% of the time. So that's $476 on average. And this is important to do it this way too, guys, because you'll see here in a minute. And then they charge $4.95 on the buy side, and I know they get that 90% of the time. And so that's $445. And then you got to look at what their book of business is, right? Is it balanced? Or are you heavy on the buy side versus heavy on the listing side? And I know those guys, they run about 50-50 is kind of where they land. But let's just, for this example, let's say they do 60% listings, and then that means it'll be 40% on the buy side. Okay. So that's step one. Input your expected transaction metrics below. Let me blow this up. Maybe that might be a little helpful. Okay. Then we get into number two here. We get into their performance ratios are listed in there. So what we're looking at is, what is their assumed listing appointment to listing taken ratio? Joel, do you know what your guys' what it is for you?
Yeah, exactly what you have on there. We actually let our agents choose. If we sent them on 10 appointments, the good, the bad, and the ugly, how many are you going to close? And they all said 4. So we go off of 40%.
Cool. Then we'll leave that alone. What is your listing taken to listing sold ratio? Every listing you take, how many sell?
In this market for this year, it's 93%.
Right. So we talk assumptions. I don't know if I would use that. Right. I can tell you 2 years ago in Dallas, for us, for our brokerage, was 83%. Okay. I can tell you it ain't going to be 83% moving forward, especially here in Dallas. In Stace's market, he's about 50-50. Wow. It's about where he's at. So this is another one of those metrics that you want to kind of be a little cautious with, right? In setting your numbers. So I would say let's use Stace's number here at 50%. Now the buy side, okay? So buyer appointment to buyer rep agreement. So another way to think about this is if you're not strong with getting buyer rep agreement signed when you meet with somebody, I encourage you to improve that skill set and not put somebody in your car or show properties unless they've agreed in writing to do business with you. And so another way to look at this is you meet with the buyer and you're showing them properties. What is that ratio that somebody gets pretty committed to you? Joel, do you know kind of what you guys are at?
You know what? I do not know what we are at, because we base it on, face-to-face versus assigning the Buyer Advantage program. And we allow the agents to do it at 40%.
Okay. So if they meet them and they agree to do business, then it's about 40%.
40% that they're signing up for the Buyer Advantage program.
Gotcha. What I would say here is that you would want to improve that, but it's going to throw your numbers off in a little bit, because if you get a buyer that agrees to work with you and they close the deal, right? Yeah. What is that percentage? Do you know?
I'll bet that no, I do not know. But if I was to make an assumption, I'm going to go 80%.
Okay, so it's a lot higher if they sign and they agree to do business.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. So let's split the middle on that. Let's say that's about 70%, and then you meet with them and you get them to sign the buyer rep agreement. Let's say that's 75% of the time.
Yep.
Okay. So that gives us our assumption ratios, and you guys will see what we're talking about here. Over here, our calculated goals transferred to the quad track tab, right? You don't have to move them. You don't have to go and put them in there manually. It's doing it for you. And so this is an absolute key to the second part, because whatever we now determine in the next step, what is our volume goal or our GCI goal, it's going to calculate how many transactions, how many listings you need to take, and how many listing appointments you need to go on to hit your goal. Okay. So this is really, really important to get set up, but it'll also help you in really getting clear on what your targets are for the year. Obviously, you can now see the quarter, and then obviously you can see each month. And then you can break it down. Hey, this is what we got to do this month. Let's break it down what we need to do this week. What do I need to do today to be successful to win the day? Now, Joel, number 3.
Yep.
We have an option here. If you just click on either, we can go total sales volume or total gross commission as the goal. What do you guys like to look at?
I like to look at the GCI personally. Matt Chase likes to look at the volume. So
it's about the money. It's about the money.
Man.
There's only one goal in business, Joel. You know it, right? One goal. There's only one. That's make a profit. So you got to look at the dollars. And I don't like to look at the volume either. I want to look at GCI, because I know of our revenue number. I know our net profit percentage targets that we have within our salary cap. And then that helps. Volume, great. Right. But volume is like trophies. You know, that's, I don't know.
Participation trophies.
Yeah, no thanks. So so let's set this up for gross commission.
Yep.
And then let's look at kind of what we anticipate. So I'm going to reference back to Stacy and Reedy's numbers again. They did right at 670,000 GCI. I'm gonna push them to grow, and you can have a growth number. And so if they're at 667, 689, plus if we say what's 25%, right? If we were to say, hey man, we want to be aggressive. We want to, we're going to focus on a 25% growth from year over year for commission dollars. And then that would put them at 834, 611. So let's just use that as the assumption, but you got to nail based upon where you're at in your business and then what it would be. So let's say 835 is going to be the goal there for them. Boom. Everything now changed in our targets, which we're saying is that, based upon those assumptions, we're looking at 31 million in volume, 835 GCI at an average sales price of 142, means that we've got to do 219 sides on average to hit our goals for 2019. And then you just have to sit back and look at it and like, man, is that doable? Right? Is that doable based on what we know to be true today, current team size, what we have in the pipeline, people coming on, any life events, we know we got to make a move. We got some babies on the way, whatever it is, right? You figure out kind of what we're going to battle, what's going to change. And you look at it and then you look at these numbers, you're like, cool, are we committed to this or not? And if not, then we need to make some adjustments on our assumptions, drop this average sales price down, too aggressive there. And then, you look at it again, it's like, man, 241 size, we only did 175. How are we going to do that? Is that the goal, or do we need to be more aggressive or whatnot? So this really helps you get clear. Now, the next part, the final part here that is really, really important to understand is we've got to get a grip on our seasonality of our market. We have to, because you guys all have seasonality in your market. And why is this important? It's important because we are from a cash flow standpoint, if we know that only 5% of the deals are happening in January and 5% of the deals in February, do we have enough cash in the bank, enough core capital to get us through based upon our expenses, right? So it helps us from a cash flow standpoint. And that's one of the really powerful things that the quad track will do for you, and that's what I'm always looking at, is how much cash do we have projected coming in this month? What is our expenses? Are we at a plus or a minus going into the next month? And then what is the next month telling us? So it just really helps you gauge from a cash flow standpoint where things are going to be. So take the time and pull your market's statistics, not your business statistics. Okay. That's a huge, huge get. And how we always do it, Joel, if you got a better way, is that we just go into the MLS. We go 2016 January, how many transactions closed? February 2016, how many transactions closed? And then we just input them in there.
We actually go back. We do an average of the last 3 years, and that's how we come up with ours. And it's a big deal. I mean, yeah, we're in Cleveland. I think at least, I don't know, woe is me maybe, but we have pretty bad seasonality here and sales curves. But I mean, for me, that was the big learning experience, because I was the guy who, hey, we're doing 450 transactions a year. It's divided by 12. Here's what you guys need to be doing 37 and a half deals a month. And
Right.
then they're actually crushing it for January. But in turn, you know, when our goals really should have been 25 and a half,
Right.
that's a big difference.
Yeah, it's huge.
You know, it's a big difference.
Huge. You got to get it. And so when you input and you put all your numbers, you can kind of see, and it really helps you from a forecasting standpoint. And then as you'll notice on your goals, it fluctuates out, right? What you need to do for the month. So like based upon these assumptions, what it tells us is that, hey, we got to get on 38 listing appointments in January. We need to take 15 listings, and, you know, we need to, you know, make sure that we've got eight on the board to close in January to be on pace. And same thing on the buy side. So this will really help you gauge and get your business assumptions and your metrics dialed in. Spend some time on it, use some of your historical data, go through this, and something that you're really going to be able to commit to. Now, as you'll see, everything moved over here to the quad track tab. It has our average commission, our average sales price, our average of the transaction fees that we'll be collecting, and it's all calculated here, right? So this is really important. This becomes your scoreboard that you're looking at with what your business metrics are in relation. The other thing that you want to make sure you do is you get in here and you plug in your numbers from 2018 and 2017. So, you know, if you did 4 and 3 for, you know, whatever, you did 1, you know, 2, 1.2 in sales, and you did, you know, $30,870 in transaction fee, and then you had, you know, I don't know, you collected that in transaction fees. Then that gives you kind of where you're at in your total, and it also will add up down here in the bottom for you guys. So you see what your average transaction price is and your average commission. So it's really important to be able to see this. It's just going to help you guys make better business decisions. See what chat we have. Cool. Jeff Moore asked a really good question. How are you guys tracking leads or pipeline? Feel free to answer later. Just thought of it. Cool. We'll come back to that, Jeff. So cool. Thanks for throwing that in there. All right. So this is the scoreboard, right? This is the thing that you can throw up on the monitor. You can kind of see where everything's at. There's some other tabs that you could do the same thing with, but this is the one always coming back to look at kind of where we're at in relation, because this lets me know what my cash position is going to be forecasting out, right? And it's really critical in your business, you know, making decisions moving forward. Joel, anything else that you want to talk about here on the quad track? We'll reference on the tab. We'll reference back in just a second, because we're going to walk them through of inputting some information.
Yeah, no, I just wanted to bring up, you know, regarding the current team size. I know you were talking about Stacey Reedy, you know, in the 4-person team. You know, I see Ryan and John Harps on, you know, for someone with a larger team, one of the mistakes that we made was we were setting our sales goals according to what Albie and I wanted our sales goals to be.
Yeah.
And so we were getting rich on a spreadsheet. And it was fantastic. And actually our agents were crushing it. And we're like, why the hell aren't we hitting these? And so as a manager, we're sitting back and looking, and Albie goes, that's because these are our goals. These aren't their goals. So once, you know, we do our year-end planning, we inputted their goals in towards our 2019 goals, and they were actually crushing it. So just a little.
Great distinction. Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for sharing that. I would say too, guys, we went through the sales goal. We talked about what you need to set up on the Trac tab right here, reference back. This is your instruction tab. So over on the year-to-date tab, this is where you want to enter your agents' names. And if you have any ISAs, one thing on the Trac tab is up here, you've got owner's team. This is Honey Badgers. It's the Honey Badgers team. So change that team, change your team name, company name. If it's just you, whatever, Joel and Associates or whatever, just get that up there, get that in there. Year to date, you can see now we got Honey Badgers over here. I'm going to zoom in on this because this is really large. So this is set up to have quite a bit of agents, right? So you can have that in there. This is where you want to add your team members' names. Okay, so agents, we got Joel Hollo. We got Kitchens, okay? And as you'll see, is it enters and it helps track kind of the team, transfers everything over. So this is where you enter the team, your agent team members' names. This is important. You'll see when we enter a transaction what happens. If you have any ISAs, ISA, Sally, you maybe have ISA Tim. And then you do the same thing. And so you want to take the time, enter all of your team members' names, everything in here. This is where you get the names in. Now, if you're the owner, I recommend that you put yourself in the owner box, not up here in the agent box. Even if you are in a little limited, you're in some production, you can see that. So this will be owner. Owner Trevor. So we got owner Trevor in here, and we're all set, right? And this is a great scoreboard to come back to where you can see what your agents are doing, what your ISAs are doing, their total production that they've written, that they've closed, that they have pending, how many deals they've done, how many deals your ISAs have been a part of. It'll also break down the owner summary. This is important because this is what tells us our cash flow, what our cash is actually coming, total revenue coming to the company, so you can forecast your dollars based upon your budget and your expenses. So so make sure you go through, you understand, you get everything set up the way that you need to set up on the year-to-date tab, and then you can get into your monthly tabs. Okay, and so here's what the monthly tabs look like. Okay. And you can see, because we've entered the agents, we've already got the agent names are in there. The ISA names are in there. We got our owner name in there. And what we want to do now, we'll enter a transaction so you guys will see what that looks like. So let me go ahead and blow this up for you guys to see a little bit. Now, here's the rule that you have to remember with the month tabs. You put your transactions into the month that you anticipate that they are going to close, not the month that you execute them, because it'll throw your numbers off and it won't give us an accurate forecasting for our cash flow, right? That's really, really important that you understand that. It goes in the month that you anticipate it to close. So Joel, let's walk them through here and let's enter a transaction, and then we'll show how that translates across the rest of the tabs moving forward.
Let's do it.
So executed date. So let's say that we executed one today that's going to close for us, in scheduled closing. We'll say it's going to schedule to close on the 15th of next month. So we got that in there. We're going to close on 123 Main Street in Frisco, Texas, 5034. Client, this is Joel's mom. Obviously, you put the real client's name in there, full name. Now, there's a few of the columns in here that have drop downs for tracking purposes. Title company is one of them. Our mortgage company is one of them. Our lead sources and inspection companies are a few of them. And so if you'll find that tab down at the bottom, so we know title company, you got title company, mortgage company, inspector. What you'll want to do here, guys, is go in and enter the title company that you guys have. And why is this important? Because you want to track where you're sending your business. Why is that important? Because they like doing vendor relationships and helping contribute to your marketing efforts based upon the dollars that you're sending them. And you need the ammo when you sit down with somebody and it's like, okay, Red Door Title, we've sent you guys, 37 deals this year. You guys make an average of X number of dollars off of us, which equates to X number of dollars that we've sent to you this year. What is that business worth to you? And that helps you acquire additional marketing dollars to help you grow your business. They will pay, right? And that's how you exactly approach that conversation. What is this business worth to you? And they'll give you. And the rule of thumb that we like to use, guys, is that, how many of you, listening to this, going through this would pay a 25% referral for if somebody sent you a deal? Joel reached out from Cleveland and said, hey, I've got a client heading your way, 25% referral. Are you interested? Absolutely.
Oh yeah.
So that's what we use. So if you just do the math that, on average, a title company's making X number of dollars per deal you send them X number of deals. What's 25% of that? And that's a good starting point baseline for your negotiating to where you can be for that. That's it. That's the process that we go through to get clear on kind of what that number is. But we let them come to that conclusion. And sometimes they're willing to contribute more than that 25% that you're calculating. And sometimes they try to lowball you a lot less. And if you can't come to that agreement, then maybe you look at the next title company or the next, mortgage lender or, inspector or whatever the case may be. So make sure that you guys are doing that. And that's why these tabs are in here so you can track it. So you can see we've already pre-filled some names. Mortgage, put in your mortgage companies, whatever they are that you're sending a lot of business to, inspection companies, and vice versa. Same thing over here on your lead tracking. You want to go ahead and get your lead sources plugged in here. That way you have them, and what it's going to do, it's going to calculate all of your commission dollars up against it. And what this thing is built out to do is help you get the ROI on your leads, because right here on your leads, you're going to go in at the end of each month and how much money did you spend on, your database? How much money did you spend on circle prospecting? Whatever your lead sources are, if you're running realtor.com, how much did you spend, right? You want to get it in there. So let's, for example, let's say, circle prospecting there, we're going to, the dialer, we're going to send out, postcards into the area. Maybe we're not spending anything on circle prospecting. Maybe we're just making dials. Let's use expired. So we know, let's say we're spending, $1,000 a month on expireds for postcards and, for the data that we're capturing. 500 is probably more realistic for most. So we'll put that in there. We know we're spending that, and I'll show you what that looks like in just a second. Now, we've taken the time, we've gone in, we've set up, we've got names in there, we've got things to where we can pre-fill. So let's go back to January. And we know we have our title companies in here. Don't enter them from here, guys. Go into that tab and enter them in and say, this one's going to close at Red Door. And our closer over there is Closer McGee, and their number is 123-456-7890. And so we have that information here, so we know where it's closing at. When you can quick reference, look, close, see where it's at, who's got it. This is we're going to make this one a listing, and so we've got our $5.95 listing fee, and like I said, it's a list. And man, Joel did a So remember we pre-filled our agents, right? So we just click on that drop-down tab and who is the agent on this one? This was Joel, did a great job. He did have some ISA help. ISA Tim hooked him up, set this expired appointment.
Hooked me up with my mom, right?
Yeah. Hooked him up, Joel's mom. And this one was a little bit higher than the average. This was 150,000. And then Joel did, didn't cut any corners, got his 4,500 gross commission in there. Now, the hero discount dollar amount, the reason this is in here, it's not, you can be doing the homes for heroes. You can do like whatever it is. If you take a dollar amount of every transaction towards something. And we also put this in here because of Joel and Al. Kind of shared that this is kind of cool. And what you guys do off of every transaction.
Yeah, what we do off every transaction is we donate. We work to deal with the food bank, the Greater Cleveland Food Bank, and we donate 100 meals to them with every single transactions on behalf of the name of our client. So it is $25 that we donate, and it's pretty cool. And actually, I guess while we're on this call, I'm going to give a little shout out to Albie for doing that, because this year I just tallied up our total and we donated 101,100 meals.
That's amazing, man. That's amazing.
Yep. So we're going to announce that tomorrow at our company meeting. And it's a big deal, and people love it too.
I love it. That's awesome, man. So we have that in there. So they do $25 to the Cleveland Food Bank. So 25 on there. So they're doing that. So that's in there. Now, Joel's on a 50-50, and they have it structured as, if it's an ISA set, it goes 10%, whatever the assumptions are for you guys. So Joel's on 40%. ISA is 10%. Now, guys, if you don't have anything here, just leave a zero, right? If you're not doing anything, just leave a zero. So 40%, 10% to the ISA. So this just breaks down real quick here. That this is kind of what's going to Joel gross after based upon his split, what's going to the ISA, and then what's projected to the owner commission. Actual close date. You want to put this in here because what it's going to do is going to show pending until you put the actual close date. So when it closes out on January the 15th, or if it closes January the 17th, or if it pushes until the end of the month, it closes January the 31st, then put January the 31st, whenever it closes. Now, here's the other thing too. If it pushes into February, then you've got to move it out of here and put it into February. Okay. So it's really important that you do that, because that'll throw your numbers off each of the months. So lead source. So we talked about this was going to be an expired. Mortgage company doesn't apply, right? We don't have the mortgage side. We're not sending any of this business to the mortgage. Did we have an inspection company on it? Maybe it was in the negotiation. We had to pay for the negotiation or whatever it is. So we sent this over to old Lars. Okay. And so that tracks that for us. So now here at the end of this line for the transaction, we have comments, right? Add your notes here. So get those notes in there, those comments. This is over here is referrals, right? If you have any referrals being paid out for the month, or referrals collected, put it in there. So that'll track that for you, right? So we're just trying to track all of our dollars. Now, what you guys will have see here, what happened is that now up here in our top left, it tells us, hey, okay, for January, we've got 150,000 volume on the books. We've got 4,500 in GCI. So we've got one contract there that we show in there. Now, when you close it out, that number will change, right? We've got one pending. The revenue box, right? This is what I always jump to with clients, is that I look at the contract tab, see where we're at, and then I jump to the month because I want to see from a cash flow perspective what it is, and then I know their expenses. Are they at a surplus? Or are they at a deficit for that month, right? So this helps you with your cash flow management, guys. So based upon these assumptions, we got a $595 transaction fee. It's coming to the house. We know that $22.38 is set to come to the company. And that tells us that we got $28.33 in potential dollars in revenue coming in. And if I know, hey, man, your monthly expenses are $20,000 a month, including paying yourself, then, we're about $17,000 short to being at a break even for the month, right? So that helps you to start to gauge in your forecasting what's going on, and helps you just manage your cash a lot better, okay? And then you can see it's starting to calculate all of our statistics that we've got going on here. And then tells us that, owner commissions, right? We got coming in here, and what the dollar breakdown really looks like. So the dollars are calculated correctly. So some stuff, guys, you might have to, get the calculator out and adjust just to make sure that the numbers and everything are dialed in. So we got that transaction in. So what does that look like on the Trac tab? So if you look like here on the Trac tab, it's got our one listing sold in there, and our commissions and our transaction fees. And so it's just showing that in relation to our goal. And it's just really important. It starts to calculate everything over here for us, and being able to see kind of where we're at in relation. One other thing that I would say that I forgot to mention is vendor income. So as you're collecting vendor income, this is where you want to track it. So let's say we have an agreement where we're getting about $1,500 a month coming in. We would just put it there. And so when you look back on the Trac tab, it has the dollar amount there, the actual dollar amount. So we can start to see everything in a glance. Now, you get over here. We're going to keep moving through the tabs. I want to try to show you these other tabs here pretty quick. And then that way we can talk through any questions that anybody has. So what this tab is really, really awesome is that it starts to put everything in here, our actual to our targets. So we can start to see where things are at. Are we on pace? Are we off pace? Like I said, if you have any questions or need some more clarity, come back to your instructions tab, go through goal tracking, owner summary, agent review, the star chart, lead tracking, your mortgage companies, inspection companies. So that information's there to always reference back to what it is, what you need to do to make sure it's accurate. Business expenses. If you're struggling to keep track of what your monthly expenses are, this tab's in here. And it's really cool to be able to see what these tabs are, and you can change these out, right? Whatever. This is just a dummy template setup for you, but you can put your actual line items as you have these expenses in here. Joel, anything else that you want to add on this?
No, man. Actually, no. You're going into great detail with this. So
okay, cool. Okay, cool. Thanks for monitoring that chat. So yeah, change these out as your line items are. This is just a dummy set that we have, but this is great. And go through at the end of each month and do that. And the reason is that we want to make sure, so marketing expense, right? We already said we spent $500 a month on expired. So that's our marketing expense. So we've got that in there, and see how that'll tally up for you. This is really, really key. And there's also a summary up there at the top that you can go through. Now, here's why you want to do this, because it'll show you here on our company revenue tab what our projected P&L for the month is, right? So you can go through in January on your business expenses, and you can go through and forecast what your budget is based upon your line items, and then at the end of the month, firm them up. And then that way you can look at, when you look at your company revenue tab, it's going to show you your projected P&L for the month. This will help you with your cash flow. So take advantage of all of these different tabs. They're here for a reason, guys. Remember, when this thing first started, it was the triple track, and it had the triple track tab, and then it had sales goals, it had year to date, and then it had the months, right? Everything else has been added for a reason. So make sure you guys are taking advantage of it. Then now your owner summary, it'll start to break down the dollars directly coming into to owner Trevor, right? How much money owner Trevor's getting each and every month. There's an agent review tab to where you can put in the agents. Back to A22, press control for the number. So, boom. So you type in your agent's name and it'll pull up their numbers of their production what they've done. So this really helps you to go back and reference. So Joel, share with everybody kind of what you've done with your guys' quad track with the agent stuff. How you, when you're having your one-on-ones or meetings with them.
Yeah, when I do our weekly one-on-ones with our agents, I will actually take a screenshot of this or share my screen with them, share it with them that morning. They can review it, and then that way when it comes time for the meeting, we spend the first 5 minutes just kind of going over where they're at, where they projected, what they got in their pipeline, and it helps them have complete clarity, just like we have on our business with where they're at. So
sure.
It really helps out.
Sure. That's a great point. And, we have on here, if you'll notice, where it has title company, mortgage company. It shouldn't be title attorney, it should be inspector. But why is that on there with the agent review tabs? Because what if you have a relationship with the Red Door Title and that all of your deals need to be going to Red Door Title, and you look at Joel. So if I was looking here at Joel and say Joel had, 30 transactions closed, but he only sent 2 to Red Door Title, I'd be like, Joel, dude, what's going on, man? We have this preferred relationship. Why are we not getting them over to Red Door Title? So now you can do some coaching. You can help them through that process, find out what's going on. That's why they are there. So you can look at it in a glance and you can really make sure that you're taking care of your relationships. Agent start charting. So this will just be boom. That's only going to do when it closes out. So that'll be there. And as you start to close deals out, so you can look at their charting, where are they at fluctuating for the month. Star charting. So this is a great scoreboard for your team. You got the names, how many units, what their average is. So right now, Joel's on top. So it's going to pull whoever's on top, whatever order, where things are at. Lead tracking. So it breaks it down for you guys. Let me blow this up because this is really important that we look at, so we see kind of where our business is coming from. Okay, and so we've got our dollar amount. We know really what our net owner commission is, and then that's the dollar that gets tied to the lead source. So we start to see, okay, where are we making the most money? And as you get more data in here, it'll start to tell the whole story, and then it'll break everything down, total for the year to date, to where you can see, hey, where is the actual dollars coming to the company? Where is that broken down? That was important, right? Because you don't want to say, if it was on a split to Joel, that, hey man, we brought in $4,500 from expireds. No, you didn't. You brought in $2,238 because that was the split. That was the dollars coming to the company. So that's really important distinction to understand and why you want to look at it that way. Lead expense, right? So we know that we've spent that $500 there. We want to keep track of what we're spending money on, is really, really important. And then we've got lead expense, and then like what we've already talked about, your title companies, your mortgage, and your inspector. So it breaks everything down, so you can keep a glimpse, keep your eye on making sure that you're taking care of people, or go establish new vendor relationships.
Yeah, my man John Harp has a question here. He says, are we able to make changes to show commissions paid to the broker and all of their fees?
Good. It's a good question. Actually, Joel and I were talking about that prior to the call. And man, when the reason that is not in there is because when this was first created, it was created to cater to any franchise, any brokerage. And so it had to be really neutral and not customized to any specific you got to think, man, we were at Caldwell Banker, and, Mikey was using this, and he was at KW. And so instead of trying to make a Caldwell Banker one, a KW one, this, that, the other, we did not. We would just have to factor. We would just factor, okay, hey, we got projected this. So yes, I get it. Joel and I were talking about it. So I am definitely going to throw a request in, see if we can't get a quick updated one specific to you honey badgers at EXP, so we can measure what that would look like. So I got to get with Pete, and no promises on timelines, but I will definitely follow up and get with him on that.
Great question.
Yeah, great question. Great point. All right, so sweet. So Jeff, no, not tracking leads, particularly in this format. That's usually for us has always just been just a separate spreadsheet. We would just tally lead count at the end of each month, and then we would just run it against the spend. What is it costing us? I had an amazing marketing campaign one that has vanished into the Google sphere. So I don't know where it's at. But yeah, I mean, for us, it's just been real simple. We would just have, a month, every month we would have whatever the lead source. And then we would just tally, leads, what our total lead count. And then we would just run it at a cost per. So it doesn't have to be fancy, guys. Just track it. Jay and I would always joke, man, get it on Big Chief tablet. It doesn't matter. Just track it. So I know it's not in there, but yeah, just anything simple that you could add that in there, and what those lead sources are. Ideally, guys, so here's I'm going to answer a question for you. And who should own this, right? So we talk about ownership of any functions, any tools, any reports, any updating. You should own, you as the owner, the team lead, you should own getting the sales goals dialed in. You should own making sure the budget is ideally up to date. Your expenses are up to date inside of this. But for us, if you've got somebody doing contract to close, they need to own it.
Yep.
I don't know who owns it for you guys, Joel.
Yeah, our contract to closer, our closing concierge does. And then Matt Chase is the one who reviews it with her. So one of the things that you actually had us implement is if you do have somebody else that owns this process, I don't even know if you remember that you implemented this with us, but every single Friday we have an audit, a quad track audit. And I think you should rename this as the badass track. Because, honestly, we love this. We have modified this a little bit because of kind of what John Harp had said, and we broke it when we had to add 33 agents in here, and it didn't fit it. So we expanded it a little bit. But go through and audit the sourcing to make sure that your agents are putting in the sourcing correct, because that is a big deal for when you track your ROI. You can audit to make sure that the commission amounts are all adding up correctly, depending on your brokerage, and but audit it.
Yeah, get into a rhythm. So for the last, I know since the end of 2009, every Friday since the end of 2009, it might have been November of 2009, every Friday since has been Financial Friday. And
Love that.
We go through every Friday, every business unit that I've been a part of. So, at one time there was 4 financial meetings that I would have on Friday. And we went through because this right here will tell you what your cash flow projections are. Yeah. And you've got to know your cash flow projections, where you at with every line item, with every budget. And then you can see kind of from a forecasting standpoint that I got sidetracked there with John's question. So John, I'll answer in just a second. So Financial Friday, we go through the bank statements, we go through the credit card statements, we go line item by line item. We review the quad track We want to see what we have forecasting dollars coming in. And then we look at what do we have projected dollars out. And so like right now with Stace and Reedy, they're still in that same rhythm. They know exactly where they're projected to be dollar-wise going into the first of the year. And they're also knowing right now, because it's December, they know where they're going to be projected cash-wise going into February.
Yeah.
So we always look 60 days out. That's about as far as you want to look. And that's, managing your cash flow in that regard. Rule of thumb, guys, when you're looking and reviewing your financials, 25% of your time allocation on what has happened, 75% on what is going to happen. So you've got to get really good at forecasting, and this tool will help you with that. So what we're going to do, so John, if you load it up into Google Docs, a lot of it's going to break. So I don't know when I hit Pete up with the Honey Badger version, I'll see if he can get a Google version. And there's a couple of step process that you have to do to load it into Google. If not, what we would always do is save it and put it into Dropbox to where it can be shared back and forth into amongst different people. And so every Friday, guys, get into a rhythm, weekly, whatever it is. We always did it because it tied right in with the financials. So whoever's helping you with any type of bookkeeping, they need to be a part of that meeting. And then your contract, then whoever's doing your TC work needs to be a part of the meeting. They don't have to be in for the entire meeting, but they can be for a part of it for their part. And that's, we call, they're standing in for that part of the meeting, and then get them out of there. So they don't have to sit for the entire time. You don't want to waste their time. And your contract to close person doesn't really need to be privy to, all the financials of the company. And so you just want to go through every closing. Where are they at? Are we good? Do we need to move some out of this month and the next month because we think it's going to push? Like I said, get really good at forecasting, and this tool will help you. So we'll get a copy of this, post it with the recording of the call, and then I will work on twisting Pete's arm, see if he can't get us a Honey Badger version, and also see if I can't get him to also provide a Google version. The thing is that you have to be aware of with the Google version, if something breaks, he can't fix it.
Yep.
He can't fix it. But if the Excel format you can send to him, he can fix it. So that's the downside, right? And if you haven't really ran through with this before, it's highly likely that you will break stuff because it removes a lot of the protected fields. And so like this has a lot of protected fields that makes it real hard for you to mess up. And so that's the downside. So I would look at, maybe getting a good grip on, maybe run with it for 2019. If you get it dialed in, good rhythm, then maybe look at into more of a shared format. So that's just my 2 cents. Joel, man, we're past the hour. Any other question, any other feedback, anything that you want to let everybody have before we boogie for this episode of Expert Mentors Live?
Man, just take advantage of it. Use it to its fullest capabilities, because if you don't, you're not going to have complete transparency on a portion of your business. And, I one of the things that I learned is, I love seeing my face in Zillow, right? And we're spending $10,000 a month on Zillow. And I saw my face up there, and Al's like, yeah, we're not doing this anymore. And I'm like, what are you talking about, man? My face is up there. And he goes, yeah, because we're not making any money on it. And, I'd have never known that unless he showed it to me on the quad tracks. So use it to its fullest capability, and keep up with it. Do not do this thing once every 2 weeks, because you're gonna waste your life and an entire day updating it. So update it immediately and just stick with it.
Good habits, brother. It's the secret to success. Good habits. So get into good habits with it, and it'll definitely it'll give you the visibility that you need to see into your business, so you're making the best decisions possible to move it forward. So, Joel, appreciate you, brother. Thank you, guys. Thank you for tuning into this episode, and we'll see you next time.
Thanks, John.